Hello everyone, at this moment I had been working as a system administrator more than for 3 years, and I have experience in this field. And that's why I would like to share with you information what is be system administrator, what you need to do at this job, which skills you need to have to complete these jobs, and of course some tips how to get this position. Let's get started. First of all, need to take into account that exist two main waves of being system administrator. It's being system administrator at a small company, and it's being a system administrator at a big company. And two of these positions have quite a large difference between of them. I was working in a big company, but we will start talking about small company just because it's shorter and easier. Firstly, what do I mean under a small company? A small company is any business with some decades of employees, usually without any specific server rooms, and with one, maximum with two system administrators in a team. And main task of this system administrator is just keep working employees' computers and internet. Literally, that's all. And to successfully complete these two tasks, you need to know about 5 main system administrator things in this field. It's a router, switch, DNS server, DHCP server, and WorkGroups. And let's all describe them in more details. First thing, router. Router is a specific box where you connect your internet cable which comes from your provider, and router connect to the provider network using login, password, any other specific data. It depends on your provider, and after all, share this internet connection with other device through the cables and through the Wi-Fi. So when you connect your computer to the router, you don't need to additionally write any login and password. You just immediately getting the internet. Also, every small router, your home ones or router in a small company, do some things like providing names to devices and keep database with these names. But I will talk about this a bit later because it's DNS and DHCP things. So, of course, as a system administrator, you need to know how to choose a correct router for your company and how to configure it. Of course, exist a lot of different routers, and if we're talking about common home routers, mostly every of them it's absolutely the same. It's quite simple interface where you just need to write some data which you have in your contract from your provider. But of course, if we're talking more about companies router, not about home ones, one of the main companies who creates routers for companies, it's Mikrotik. And if you want to get some information about that, you just can type in YouTube something like how to configure Mikrotik, blah blah blah. And mostly that's all. Try to find in internet any small Mikrotik, which you're usually using in small shops or small offices, and just make a small overview how it's working and how it's configured. No need to go in it extremely deeply if you know nothing about it. Thing number second, switch. If router, it's a quite smart box which know how to connect to internet, write login, password, share internet later, give names to other computers, keep this database. Switch, it's much more stupid things, and main task of switch is just provide more ports. We need to understand that router, as it's smart thing, usually it's quite expensive, and the more ports it has, the more it's expensive, because in a router you can configure and control every port of it, and we not always need to control every port of this. For example, we have 50 computers in our small company, and we need to connect every of these computer to the internet by cable just to have a high speed, for example. And we don't need to configure internet specifically for each of them. We just need to share internet for them. And if we will try to find any router with 50 ports, for example, it will be extremely expensive, and we don't need it. What do? We buy a small router, for example, with 5 ports in it, and after that we can buy 2 switch with 24 ports in each, or 1 big switch with 38 ports in it. It's much more cheaper because it's much more stupid, less smart. We can't control ports as much good as we can do it in router, but it's enough. You just connect your switch into your router, and after that every port of this switch just repeat port from the router. Mostly that's all what you need to know about what is switch, but of course I recommend you to go to internet and Google about it a bit more deeply to find some specific reviews, at least for 5 minutes. The third thing, it's a DHCP server. In the world of computers and any other devices which is able to connect to the internet or to local network, we also need to use names to just connect them between each other to understand who are trying to talk with who. But of course, in a world of computers, we don't use common names like Alex or John. We use IP addresses. IP address is just a number which help to computer and router to understand who is a who. And DHCP server gives these numbers to computers, to your smartphone, for example. If you connect to Wi-Fi, yes, your smartphone also has this IP address. And yeah, mostly that's all. Why do we need this DHCP servers and what do we need to configure in it? In DHCP server, you can configure how it gives names to devices, which names it gives to devices. For example, if you give names with different subnets, subnet it's usually a second number or third number in IP addresses, you can after configure this subnet in your router, for example, as an option. Computers with a subnet 10 will have access to internet, but printers who has a subnet 11 won't have access to internet, and you just keep it everything in safety. For example, maybe you're scared that your printer will share your PDF documents with owner company for some reason because they steal data to China or to somewhere else, and you just cut access to internet for them. But of course, you don't want to cut access to internet to every device. And for that reason, you give to printer different names to cut access to internet only for these specific devices. DHCP server function can complete a lot of different devices. You can configure it real Windows server or Linux server, but usually if we talk about small companies, router do it for us. And the same happens at your home. When you connect to the router automatically has a DHCP function in it, and it gives you name for your device, for your computer, for your smartphone. So as a system administrator, usually you need to connect to your router and configure this DHCP server, which names it gives and how it gives. To get more information, the same as before, go to internet, go to Google, just write DHCP server, how to configure, or DHCP server on router, or how it's work DHCP server. It will be enough. The third thing, it's a DNS server. If just right now we talk about DHCP server, which gives names to devices, DNS server is a server which stores these IP addresses with common names. Yes, because as humanity, for us, it's difficult to remember these numbers. And we much more easy remembering common names like Alex. And we can call our PC by a common name Alex to after make a remote access, for example, to this PC by using this name. And a DNS server just stores this data because, as I told before, computer can't connect to our PC by using this name Alex. It can connect only by using IP address. And when we're trying to connect to another PC, make a remote access session, for example, by using this name Alex, firstly, our computer asks DNS server about, I have a name Alex, can you please give me IP address of this computer? DNS server give IP address, and after we can connect it. And mostly that's all what does DNS server, of course, if we don't go to this too deeply. And the fifth thing, it's WorkGroups. If you was installing Windows 10, Windows 8 or any previous version on your computer by yourself, you probably seen this question, do you want to connect your computer to the WorkGroup? And please write the name of WorkGroup. What is WorkGroup and for what do we need it? Let's imagine we have an office and we have 50 computers in it. And in one computer we have a specific hard drive where we want to store the data and share this data with other computers. Of course, we just can share access to this storage by everyone, and Of course, from internet, it won't be able to get direct access if we want to do specific things. But if you connect it to the router of this office, you will able to see this hard drive and connect to it. And seems good, like, okay, we just share it with everyone, and everyone who connect to router can get access. But one problem in this, security problem. Let's imagine that someone hack your Wi-Fi, get a password from it, connecting it, and this guy now can connect to this storage and download any data from there, or maybe even delete it if you give access to really for everything. And now on the scene came up WorkGroups. What if we connect all our PCs to the specific workgroup, and when we will share this hard drive to other PC, we will share it not just for everyone, we will share it to everyone who is a part of this workgroup, and it will create more security. And we can do quite a lot of things with these workgroups. We can share more data, we can share hard drives on every PC, we can share more information. Like when PCs are in the same workgroups, they have much more connection between each other. They can trust to each other more. We can more simply connect them. And what is a workgroup? If we're talking about big offices, big companies, they have a different system. It's a domain system. It's a system where we have a different server which manage all these computers. But as I told, in a small companies, usually we don't have any servers because it's a small company. We just work, we just do small tasks, and we don't need it. So the most what we can do usually is connect these computers to the workgroups to share data between each other of them. It was all small description of a position of the System Administrator in a small company, what you need to do, what you need to know. And now let's talk about some positive sides of this job and some negative sides. Positive sides. First positive side is that it has a low entry level. So if you don't know a lot of things about IT, if you don't have a lot of experience, you don't have any particular certificates from this field, probably System Administrator, it's a small company, it's a position which you can get if you just have your own experience. For example, you was reinstalling Windows on your PC, you was doing some hacks of neighborhoods Wi-Fi and stuff like that, you know. And it's just usually easy to get this job because people who try to hire a system administrator in a small company, they even usually don't know what the system administrator need to know. The second positive thing is just amount of tasks. For example, if every PC work and internet is working too, that means that you have nothing to do and you can just chill and relax. That's all, really, you can do so. Maybe watch any YouTube videos and read the books and do whatever you want. Of course, if you don't have any too angry boss which has an idea that everyone from his employees has to work every minute and do something, even if it's nothing to do. So if you have a normal team, you have a normal company, usually it's not a lot of tasks and pretty a lot of time you can just do nothing. Mostly it's all positive points of this job. So if you are looking for a first job in IT and you are looking for something not too hard, or you just not really powerful guy, maybe you're 30 or 30 years plus and you don't want to get any difficult job, you want something more relaxed, position at small company to what you're looking for. And now let's talk about negative sides. First negative sides is usually quite a small salary and no any opportunities to make this salary higher and bigger, because you do small tasks, you not do more tasks. If company not growing and not hiring more and more people, not creating new servers, you have nothing to grow where, and that's all. Second negative task is that you do quite simple things, but at the same time quite boring things, and you have no any ways to grow as a specialist. Of course, if you have a lot of free time, you can start just watching teaching videos on YouTube or start studying in some university to get any specific certificates, but you have nothing to training where. Like, for example, you don't have servers which you can reconfigure to understand it, or you have no colleagues from who you can ask any advices. And probably also that's all negative sides in this job. So all in all, working at a small company, it's not bad. It's depend on what you want. If you're looking for something easy, it's good. If you're looking for something not too hard, like you don't want to work 24 hours per day, it's also good. But just need to take into account that your salary probably will be too stable, no any opportunities to make it bigger, and no any really good opportunities to working as a specialist to upper your knowledge. And now let's talk about more interesting things, more big things. It's working in a big company. What is a big company? Usually it's a company with some thousands of employees, at least with some hundreds of employees. This company can has several offices, maybe some shops, or maybe even hundreds of these shops. And in every this shop, every employee has a PC, a lot of printers, a lot of computers. It has a lot of servers, their own servers, cloud servers from Amazon, for example, or from Microsoft. So let's talk about it more deeply. Yes. Firstly, what you need to know is that usually big companies has a separation system of system administrating. So it has usually 3 lines of technical support. First line, it's guys who providing the most easiest technical support. It's like entry level of IT, of system administrator, technical support specialist. Depending on the company, technical support from the first line provides help either for their clients. If, for example, you want to work in a provider company, or you working in a company who sells something, you can provide help to clients of this company. Either you can provide help to employees of your company. If you have a lot of employees and a lot of shops, for example, in any shop, any employee has a problem with his PC is broken, he's call or write a letter to the technical support of each company, and specialists have to connect somehow and help to him. Usually those guys providing information like how to power on your PC, they make a new password for accounts. If these guys forgot their passwords, they just helping them to connect mouse to the computer, usually just by talk like, take please a cable and connect it to this port. So a lot of just basic low-level things about IT. And also they complete another important things. It's providing tasks, like not providing, escalating tasks to other group of people. If a guy from the first line of tech support realizing that problem is more difficult, he can't understand how to resolve it, or it's out of his tasks, he has to escalate this task to other lines, and usually he just escalated to the second line, and it can exist a lot of different second lines, like second line which provide helps to computer, second line which provides help to specific server or services, and he has to understand to which line he has to escalate this task and just escalate it. And now let's talk about more interesting things, the second line of system administrating. And in my opinion, it's a path where system administrator is beginning, because in a first line it's not system administrating, honestly. Even if this position callings like this, it's mostly like technical support. They do some things from this stuff, but you know. The second line, it's where I worked exactly, so I can tell you the most described information about this field. The first and the most important is what do you need to know to work on this position. And a quick answer is everything what you need to know to be a system administrator in a small company, and also some additional things which depend on each company in particular, because it can be, of course, Windows or Linux servers, PowerShell scripts, client server programs, antiviruses, and I can keep this list for a long time, but I want to describe you and tell you the most important things which you just obligatory to know. The crucial thing is a domain. When I was talking about working in a small company, I told about the existence of WorkGroups, and domain is the same idea, but more powerful and more difficult. In this system we have a server which called domain, and this server controls other PCs and gives them rules. For example, if we wanna make a new user, we just can create this user on a domain, and after, on each PC which is connected to this domain, we can try to log into this user. This computer will send a request to the domain like, does this user exist? And if this user exists, it will appear our desktop, can be even some particular programs if we describe them on a domain, and of course some privileges, access to folders or even admin privileges. Of course, all of this was made just to do work faster, because when you can control everything from one server instead of just go to each PC, it's much more faster, it's much more powerful, you can give different accesses and just make system more beautiful. And of course, it's also dialogue about cybersecurity, because we can't give access to admin privileges to each user, because in this case, every second PC will have a virus on it, and the company will be destroyed after a few weeks of working like this just because of hackers. And this system gives us opportunity to create some specific users with admin privileges as a system administrator, as me for example. And when a computer asking for login and password of admin, because common user don't have these privileges, we just type our login and password and we can install programs or delete them and do whatever we want. Go in depth about that, you can check in the internet for AD, is Active Directory, is a Windows domain system. Be aware, it's not VDS, it's different things. And yeah, also you can of course install Windows Server on your PC and just install on it domain. It's not so difficult and it's quite interesting stuff. So yeah. Next thing is server client programs. For example, exists antivirus and we have like thousands of PCs. Of course, install common antivirus on each of these PC, it's possible, but how we can control them later? It's too difficult. So what we do as a system administrators, we are much more smarter. We install main part of a program, which is called server part of a program on our server, and after we install small part of these programs on each computer, which is calling like a client. And we can schedule, for example, scanning computer for the virus every day at 3 p.m. And when it's 3 p.m, server send request to each computer which is connected to this server, like run scan. And after they run it, they send feedback for the server, like I run scan, everything went correct, I run scan, I found viruses, any particular computers didn't run it for some reasons, and you can see all the statistics on your server and you can easily control it. Exists a lot of different server client programs, each of them do different things, but the main idea always the same. We have a main part of it and we have like secondary part of it, and it's connected somehow and send feedback and send task to one to another. So if you know at least what is client server programs, it's much more easier to work with this in the future. And the last thing is Linux. Every big company use it as servers, and even if specialists of any particular company don't use it on the second line, I mean, it doesn't mean that you no need to know it. It's really just obligatory. And Linux sounds a bit too abstract, like, do you know Linux? Yes, of course, it's operation system. For me, it also was difficult for the first time when I was only learning Linux, like, what do I need to know about it? Because Linux is a huge thing. And if talking about the first steps of it, it's of course terminal and commands which we need to run there. And the most basic commands, it's how to work with the file system of Linux, create folders, delete them, create files, work with files. It's of course network, how to check connections, which connection we have, which packets are coming, which packets are sending, which ports are open. So try to find any information, any basic courses like networking in Linux or 20 is the most important commands in Linux. And as a first step of this long way, it's absolutely enough. It was all the most important things that you have to know. Everything other you can find just checking positions on LinkedIn and reading description, like we are looking for AWS System Administrator and etc. So, how to get this job? And exist two main ways. if we're talking about second line of system administrator, it's much more difficult to get this position if we compare it with system administrator in a small company. So if you have no experience, you just finish your college, for example, usually it's almost impossible to get this job just applying on it. So what you can do, you can apply for the first line of technical support of system administrating, work there for a few months, maybe 1 or 2 years, and after move on a second line of the same company or even of another company. And the second way, if you have any relatives or friends who already work on this position, and they can for a few weeks, at least for a few weeks, teach you how to work with particular things, how to work with servers. They can show you everything, they can describe you in more details, they can help you to resolve your mistakes and things like this. So if you have someone who already works there and you want to work there, the best solution is just to text him or call him and ask for his help. Really, no need to think that you are the most smartest person on this world, or I will do everything by myself. Can you do it by yourself? Yeah, of course, but you will spend in 5 times maybe more time. If with help you can apply immediately for the second line position, even if you have no experience, if they teach you and if they help you pass interviews because they work in this company, for example, instead of you will need to spend like few months or even few years working on a first line of technical support. And the last and the most interesting thing for a lot of people, how much does a system administrator earn? If we're talking about America, at least what I've seen, it's like 30-50,000 per year if you're working on a first line, so like technical support. 70, 80, 90,000 if you work on a second line, and 100 plus if you do any particular stuff like ABS system administrator or third line of system administrator or networking. So more or less around this. Of course, if we're talking about other countries, it's other salaries. Please check LinkedIn in your location. It was all information that I wanted to tell you to help you on this way of system administrating if you're only starting this journey. Also in the description you can find some additional things like names of the servers or names of the things which you need to know, just to not forget them and write somewhere, so you can check it. And thanks that you watched this video, and I see you in the next video.